If you walk through a medieval town today, and, see roof beams, church doors, harbour pilings, or barn frames that have survived 600 or 700 years of exposure, you are not looking at lucky timber. You are looking at wood that was deliberately transformed. Medieval builders did not trust raw wood to face weather unaided. They understood that rain was only part of the threat. Moisture moved invisibly through fibres, froze inside grain, and invited rot long before collapse became visible. Long before varnish, paint, or modern sealants, medieval craftsmen relied on a specific category of wood oil that did not sit on the surface, but entered the timber itself. This oil did not make wood shiny or decorative. It made it resistant, resilient, and alive to its environment rather than sealed against it. Understanding this oil explains why medieval timbers still outperform many modern treated woods today. The oil was chosen for penetration, not appearance or smell. The most widely used medieval wood oil was derived from flaxseed, what we now call linseed oil, but its medieval form was very different from the boiled or chemically altered products sold today. Medieval linseed oil was cold-pressed, raw, and often aged. Aging mattered because freshly pressed oil retained water and plant residues that slowed absorption. Stored oil thickened naturally as volatile compounds evaporated, allowing it to cling to wood fibres without forming a surface skin. The key property medieval builders valued was penetration. The oil soaked deep into open grain, filling microscopic channels where water would otherwise travel. Once inside, it polymerized slowly through exposure to air, not heat. This created a flexible internal barrier that expanded and contracted with the wood rather than cracking. In modern application, this principle still holds. If you apply raw linseed oil to unfinished timber in thin coats, allowing days between applications, you recreate the same penetration-driven protection medieval builders relied on. The oil was often fortified with resins to increase weather resistance. Pure oil was rarely the final treatment. Medieval records and residue analysis show that builders frequently mixed linseed oil with pine resin, birch tar, or beeswax, depending on climate and purpose. Pine resin added water repellency and mild antimicrobial properties, while birch tar offered strong resistance to fungi and insects. Beeswax was used sparingly to slow surface evaporation without sealing pores completely. These mixtures were heated gently, never boiled aggressively, to dissolve resins into the oil. Heat reduced viscosity, allowing deeper absorption during application. A medieval carpenter would brush or rub the warm mixture onto sun-warmed timber, ensuring maximum uptake. A practical, modern adaptation, you see, involves warming oil-resin mixtures in a water bath and applying them to wood that's been preheated by sunlight or, warm air. The goal here isn't to coat the surface, but rather to feed the wood until it simply stops absorbing. Application timing, honestly, mattered as much as the oil itself. Medieval builders, they understood seasonal timing almost intuitively. Wood was treated in dry weather, often late spring or early summer, when humidity was low and the fibres were open. Now, applying oil to damp or cold timber trapped moisture and, unfortunately, led to decay. Newly cut wood was often left to season before oiling, but, not fully dry by modern standards. A bit of internal moisture actually helped draw oil inward through capillary action. The process was repeated over years, not days. A beam might receive its first treatment before installation, another after its first winter, and additional applications every few years, depending on exposure. This maintenance culture is why medieval structures aged gracefully rather than failing suddenly. Today, applying penetrating oil treatments regularly instead of relying on one-time coatings dramatically extends the life of outdoor wood structures. This oil protected wood by managing moisture, not blocking it. One of the most misunderstood aspects of medieval wood oil is that it did not make wood waterproof in the modern sense. Instead, it made wood water resistant while remaining breathable. Rain could still wet the surface, but moisture moves slowly and evenly, preventing internal stress, checking and rot pockets. Modern sealants often trap moisture beneath impermeable layers. Medieval oil allowed moisture to enter and leave gradually, keeping the wood in equilibrium with its environment. This is why medieval timbers often show surface wear but remain structurally sound. For survivalists and traditional builders, this principle is honestly quite critical. Breathable protection outlasts rigid sealing in variable climates. Ships, barns and bridges relied on the same treatment for different reasons. Ship hulls received heavier tar content to resist salt water and marine organisms. Barn timbers used lighter blends to balance ventilation with protection. Bridge supports were soaked repeatedly to resist splash zones where water and air alternated constantly. This versatility is why medieval wood oil became a standard rather than a specialty. It was not a secret recipe, but a shared practice refined locally. Applying this today means adjusting oil-resin ratios based on exposure. Outdoor posts benefit from tar-enhanced mixes, while interior beams perform best with pure oil or oil wax blends. The survival of medieval timber is evidence, not legend. When you stand beneath a medieval roof truss or rest your hand on a centuries-old door, you are touching wood that has endured because it was treated as a living material. The oil that protected it worked slowly, quietly, and in harmony with natural processes. It did not promise permanence. It promised longevity through care. Relearning this method is not about rejecting modern technology. It is about understanding why older systems worked so reliably. Penetration, breathability, maintenance and respect for material behavior remain timeless principles. If this guide deepened your understanding of medieval building science and offered practical knowledge you can apply today, subscribe to the channel, share this episode with fellow history and survival enthusiasts, and help keep these proven techniques alive for future generations.